Hey, how you doing? Just recently had my childhood guitar refurbished by this guy here. It was a Grand Prix special from 1987 that some guy at a Fairport, New York guitar store totally mangled by putting a neck on it that was too big for my hands and messing up the Floyd Rose. Screws going in that way, it never worked again. So it's been in a case for 30 years. And then I heard of this guy, 812 Guitars. He took it, put a new neck on it, put a new Floyd Rose on it. We put what did we put in there?
A
Duncan 78. And now it screams and sounds like the Van Halen 1 album. And it's just got, you know, a volume knob is the only technology going on there besides all the other witchcraft stuff that he did to it. So if you could, you know, just explain kind of, you know, what you thought when this entered your shop and and what you did to it to kind of bring it back to life, so to speak.
All right, simple enough. This is what we call a piece of junk. These things are just basically, there's no hope for it whatsoever. Again, like Matt said, the mounts for the Floyd were put in completely wrong. They've also been epoxied in place and out of camber like this. Basically, there's no hope for this thing, for any regular guy. Luckily, I specialize in polishing turds. And so we started off with a new neck because the one that was on here didn't work at all. The truss rod, forget about it. So this is
Mighty
this is a Mighty Mite, right? Which is, you know, they run like $120, $150. The real expensive part here is going to be the Floyd. I mean, you know, there's like $180, $200 right there, plus the actual decent pickup, which is another 85 something bucks. New pickguard that we had to recut to work with the fact that the Floyd is actually out of square on this. But again, if you can finagle everything to work, that's where the real skill comes in. And for me, I've said it enough to enough guys that want to get into this field. They want to work on the high-end pieces, the beautiful pieces of wood. They want that romance of using a chisel and carving something, and then they're hopefully going to get paid 10 grand for something. That's not a reality. The reality is that you're probably going to be working on guitars that are like this, that are basically shot. Somebody did their best to try to make them work, but they're just gone. Now you've got to make it work. And this is what divides the men from the boys. So whenever I get stuff like this, it puts a smile on my face because it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to make the brain work today. And the best part is when it's done, it's dialed in, it works great. And then when it goes to the client that owns it, and then you see that spark in their face, especially you, because I don't know how many times you were playing and you stopped dead cold and you're like, I'm having a problem with my hands because my left hand is going faster than my right hand and it won't catch up, and you're going to have to give me a little while.
Butter everywhere.
You're right. Right. All of a sudden it's just like, wow, I didn't know this would play that great. It's like, yeah, it does now.
Good name for a band, by the way, Hot Butter. For you, yeah.
In New York, you used to pay extra for that.
Exactly.
But yeah, dialing everything in, I mean, that's where it's at. And I mean, again, for the most part, this is nothing more than just a couple of chunks of wood with a few metal parts. Honestly, it's just dead. Doesn't do anything. But it's all about the person that actually gets behind the wheel and then has their fun with it. And I love that. I'm still a fan of musicians in general. Like when I get to watch these guys, even younger dudes. Like I've got a kid that's 9 that I do setup work for. He's going to be probably the next Jimmy Page. And nothing makes me smile more when I watch this kid actually... He's beyond me. Oh, which on another side note, so 2 rules for finding a decent tech or luthier. Number 1, don't ever deal with a guy who thinks he's a musician. It's never going to end well. Because those guys are always going to set up the guitar for them, not you.
The guy that's
just saying,
still wearing his Joey Ramone
yeah.
from 30 years ago.
God forbid you run into a bluegrass guy, and as you go to play, the guitar's buzzing all over the place, and the guy goes, yeah, I put spank in it. Yeah, spank. You don't want spank.
What is spank?
Spank is buzzing all across the neck.
That's no fun.
You don't want that,
No,
especially for like an Eddie Van
steel
Halen
guitar.
No, that's not what I'm looking for.
Then after that is like looking
Yeah.
at the guy's tools, because if it looks like he buys something from an online source that we're not going to name here because I don't want to get sued, but you know, the stuff that I have here on the wall, basically everything came out of Home Depot. So if I break a screwdriver, I throw $10 in my dad's pocket and throw him out the door and give me another screwdriver. So again, the tools aren't really that specialized. It's all a matter really of the skill. No different than when you guys are playing and you see these amazing players with the most crappiest guitar you've ever seen in your life, and Eddie Van Halen was the best example we have, all right?
Yeah.
You know, rest in peace. And he owes me $5, that guy.
Ah, yeah.
Never once called me for my birthday, that son of a bitch. But yeah, this is the fun. And you know
Yeah.
what? That's the thing. The other thing, most important, it's fun. It's all about smiles and let's enjoy life. Because let me tell you, life is short. Tomorrow we're dead. So let's have fun.
Exactly. Also, so now, you know, I when I was growing up and wanted to start playing, you know, Van Halen just kind of blew my socks off, and my sister was dating this guy who looked like Randy Rhoads and played with a Van Halen cover band, and I saw him do that like in a basement rehearsal. And I was like, I gotta do that, you know. And he built his own guitar and stuff like that. Really super cool guy. And so I didn't really have any money to buy anything, and I finally convinced my dad to give me $150 to buy a Strat, you know. And it was like I said, it was a Grand Prix. I don't even know what that is. Chinese knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff.
Yep.
And I didn't have any pedals or anything. I think someone gave me an amp out of pity, and I acquired a couple of pedals, but you know, I didn't have the wherewithal to get a new $800 Jackson and a Marshall stack and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I worked with what I had, and I learned how to make sounds and stuff like that they use pedals with, you know, with my hands. And, you know, on and off 30 years later, you know, I can plug out just about anything you put in front of me. And it's a lot of fun, and I beat the crap out of my guitars because I try to play along with Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, all that. You know, I keep up just fine. But, you know, now having a guitar like this that I don't have to fight, because a lot of cheap guitars that aren't set up right, you're fighting it to get it to do stuff. I also brought him a Charvel that's a $1,200 guitar, but the action on it is just awful, and it warps easily for some reason. And I'm fighting it all the time. It's like you're trying to wrangle it. And I remember reading Eddie Van Halen articles where he would talk about having to fight a guitar to get it to do a thing, and he just formulated and just destroyed so many decent guitars trying to get his thing to work, you know. That's why I think you said that the actual Frankie guitar was kind of a piece of garbage.
Oh, it's no different than this.
Yeah.
This is a Frankenstein. Here you go. How many Nexuses had already? Well,
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 already?
Well, and plus,
come on.
you know, I worked really hard putting 30 years of stickers on it, you know.
Well, the SpongeBob one is the one that
So,
kicks it over the edge, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's guaranteed getting laid sticker right there. There's no doubt, man. You freaking walk out the back door of the club and, like, you know, chick's gonna assault you right by the freaking...
Because you got the SpongeBob sticker, yeah.
by the recycling container.
But I gotta ask, aside from like the tree work, the woodwork and stuff like that, did you do any special wiring to the guts or anything like that? Because I know we kicked out the 1987 wiring, and this is
Yeah,
all
we
new.
replaced the pot, so obviously this is a brand new pot.
Yeah.
Brand new jack, because we're just not trusting what was in there to begin with. Because, again, this being a guitar that started off life as one of these China cheapo $200 guitar for 1987,
Yeah.
the parts are probably going to be the equivalent of like maybe, I don't know, 25 cents that were in here. The one thing it did do on this, though, which is something else that you don't hear too much of and only in small circles, is when we're dealing with the pickup, and I know this is going to be a little bit hard to see, but you might be able to see that the pull pieces here are a little bit higher up than the other side. So we're doing that for a reason, because we're trying to get the one coil to dominate over the other one, which there's an old story about Eddie where he was screwing around with his pickups, and again, in the middle of doing whatever, and he broke one of the wires to the coil. He tried to solder it back, didn't work. Eddie's original sound is actually a single coil pickup, but what makes it interesting is that the other coil is still there. So it does add something to it by dragging the magnetic wave off to one side versus just spilling over as it normally would. So his sound is uniquely a single coil sound, but it's arguable, and again, I've been at this a little too long, it's actually very reminiscent of a P90. And that's a story for another day, because I got to see if I can get Paul to bring that guitar in, because that's a story with another one where we put a Floyd on a freaking Gibson Les Paul Special with just one P90, and man, the sound will blow you away.
And also a nice thing to hear was that you told me that a couple of people that came into your shop, you know, your regular customers, you know, they picked it up. And
oh, they had fun with this.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're not afraid.
Yeah.
If this was something that I said, oh yeah, this is a Gibson custom shop, blah, 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 $8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a piece of garbage, $120.
This one you're not afraid to grab it and pick it up, and people had a blast with this.
Yeah.
And it was nice for me to have that out, because even though this is just I'm really essentially changing the neck on this and then putting on a bridge, it still has to break in. The neck still has to do its thing, and it's going to move, and it's going to do whatever. Even when, you know, when I sent it back to you and then you were having your fun with it, eventually a problem did arise with one of the frets, which it's going to happen. But regardless, this already had logged in probably like about maybe, say, 200 hours of playtime, because people were dorking with it constantly. And that's a good thing, especially when people kind of walk to it and they're like, oh, this is cool. And they want to, hey, can I try that out? Sure, here. Plug them in. That's great. That means that you've hit something on the head when you put together an instrument. If they're willing to put their hands on it, and they kind of, they're, oh, is this real?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like they're blind and they want to see it with their hands. And that's fun. That's cool. I like that.
It's like a carnival ride made out of a guitar. So,
right.
Okay, and to wrap, I'll get to the point and wrap this up. So for other players out there, you know, do you have any good last minute advice, or how they should find a decent luthier, not just a setup guy in their area?
You got to do your research on that one, but
Yeah.
the one thing I will advise you big time, for a lot of you guys that are out there, stay the hell out of forums. There's too many idiots in there that are freaking armchair experts. You know, they're on their phone, like, doing something, be it like Discord or freaking Instagram or Facebook. Well, you know, Eddie did this. Well, you know, Fender did that. Dude, this ain't rocket science, man. I mean, seriously, even flat earth people can handle this. So, just practice, just play, do your thing. But if you are looking for a guy, you know what? Check backgrounds. I mean, nowadays you can just go on Google, check Google Business, see the reviews, see what's going on, talk to people. Dude, there's only two people that guitar players ever argue about. Two things that they ever argue about. It's always going to be the gear that they got and the asshole that fucking fixes it. So that's it. And, you know, and weave your way. I mean, you know, try a guy out. If it didn't work, well, all right, $100 and you walk away and try somebody else out. And then, you know, if you do find that special somebody and you're able to build a relationship where, you know, then stupid shit like this happens, man, you're gold.
All right, great. Well, if you know you're in the Connecticut, Westchester County area, you can always look up A12 Guitars if you're needing some help. He's a busy guy, so make an appointment. And once again, thank you very much. And I finally found my guitar people. You know, after years of going to the setup guys at different stores and Guitar Center and stuff, are just not happy.
Don't even start with the mega stores.
Okay. All right,
that's a whole other pile of crap. That's Godfather 3. Let's not talk about that piece of shit, Nick.
All right, man.